What if you had an asset that almost guaranteed you could make a 6 or even 7-figure income as a freelancer or solopreneur? Now, I know this sounds like the beginning of some infomercial. I promise that's not what's happening here. But here is an ironclad fact. Of the entrepreneurs and freelancers I know who have made over $1 million in a year, the vast majority of them did it the way I'm going to show you in this video. And it was not by spending 24 hours a day on social media. It wasn't by running paid ads. It wasn't by having some supernatural talent that you couldn't even dream of aspiring to. No, it's by building one asset that you can start doing today for free. First, my name is Henry Bingaman. When I decided I was going to make my income online back in 2008, I was an idealist. So I quickly went broke, ran out my credit cards, and almost quit to find a real job. Then I learned the secrets and strategies that make earning a high income online possible, and I went on to become one of the highest paid people in my industry. Today, I make videos like these to help freelancers and solopreneurs boost their incomes and enjoy their work more. All right, I have to confess, I'm going to do something I absolutely hate in this video.
What exactly are you going to do?
I'm going to use a very business jargony term. Now, look, usually this kind of jargon is just a way to waste syllables, signaling that you've read a couple business books. It's a way for people to say, look at me, don't I look smart? For example, who the hell in the real world would say core competencies? They're skills. Nobody does synergistic collaboration. People just work together. And why would anyone say, let's circle back on that, Kevin, when you can just say, shut up, Kevin?
I'm like, what do you say me for?
However, there is one jargony phrase I've been using a lot in my coaching recently. It's asymmetric advantage. The problem is there's no non-jargony way to get the same point across. I could call it a unique point of leverage, but that's even worse. I could call it a personal power, but I'm not Tony Robbins.
Every day I demand more from myself than anybody else could possibly expect. I don't compete with other people. I compete with what I'm capable of. I don't negotiate with myself. I'm so great.
So I'm going to keep using the term asymmetric advantage, as jargony as it sounds, because it really is something that everyone in the freelancing and solopreneur world needs to understand. Now, I'm not breaking any news with this concept. Asymmetric advantage is the main teachings of Sun Tzu back in The Art of War, and the dude wrote that in 400 BC or something like that. So not a new concept, but an important one. Now, sometimes the asymmetry you're taking advantage of can be subtle. For example, do you know the reason Walmart is worth $630 billion while Kmart went bankrupt? It's because Kmart allowed individual store managers to make pricing and stocking decisions on their own, so each store was different. Walmart, on the other hand, centralized all their purchasing and pricing, so they crushed Kmart on their ability to negotiate lower purchase prices, but they still forced them to compete on the prices on the shelves. Now, this was obviously the winning strategy in retrospect, but back in the 80s, I probably would have made the bet that local store managers would know best what to do with their own stores. So it was a subtle asymmetry at first. It didn't happen all at once, but it was an asymmetry worth hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of 40 years. Now, other times the asymmetry is so obvious it's comical. For example, when you see a Pee-wee football team that has one 11-year-old who's already 6 feet tall and runs a 4-second 40, that kid scores a touchdown pretty much every time he touches the ball. He's just streaking down the field with 4 kids hanging off his back. Well, there are very few of those asymmetric advantages when it comes to freelancing, but there is one. Everybody who has spent 10 minutes trying to learn anything about online business knows this asymmetry. They just don't do it. I'm talking, of course, about building your own email list. Now, whether your goal is freedom, money, or autonomy, there is no more powerful asset than having your own email list. Now, having been deep in the online business world for the past 16 years, I know a lot of extremely successful entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. I can think of maybe 10 people who made it to 7 figures in income without having an email list. And they're all almost supernaturally talented at one skill: copywriting, programming, AI development, something like that. But I'm friends with at least 30 plus people who make $1 million income from email lists of somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 readers. And I've met or had dinner or gone to conferences or spoken with dozens and dozens more. And these list owners generally work way fewer hours than the super talented type freelancer folks. There's just no question that the biggest asymmetric advantage you can have as a solo business owner today is an email list. Of course, it's not instantly obvious how to build a profitable email list. Otherwise, everybody would have one. How do you get the right people to sign up? What do you say to them when they're on your list? What types of products are you supposed to sell to them? Well, my buddy Chris Orzakowski has you covered here. Chris is one of the dudes I know who's built a 7-figure income largely from having an email list. And next week, on October 15th, he's hosting a free live Zoom workshop on how to build and monetize an email list. He's calling it 5 Steps to a $1 Million List. Now, I've already registered to attend. I'm excited to actually see what he's going to reveal in this. Now, to explain why this is such a great opportunity, I invited the man, Chris Orzakowski, on himself to explain what's up. Now, Chris, what's up, man? I know this is a busy week for you, so thank you for jumping on to talk about everything with my viewers here.
Thanks so much for having me, Henry.
So can you kind of give folks who maybe haven't heard of you yet just a little bit of your story, if we can do it real quick, just where you started to where you are now as the big name in email copywriting?
Yeah, so I started about 11 years ago. I used to be a public school teacher before I did this, and I knew I wanted to make money on the internet. So I started off, building websites and blogs and trying to get stuff off the ground, and realized that copy was the thing I enjoyed the most. So I started freelancing, working with clients, and have since then worked with hundreds of clients, all different types, to like everything from, digital product creators, e-commerce brands, a lot of e-commerce brands, some SaaS companies, tech companies, service companies, like just really all over the spectrum. And I've kind of gained a lot of unique insight into like what works across all domains, all markets, all niches. And I started building my own email list back in 2016 because for a few reasons. Number one was everyone's like, what happens if you lose a client? I was like, I never want to experience that feeling, right? Like what happens if a client leaves? Like now it doesn't matter because all I got to do is send an email out and get a client. Like I knew that was possible if you had a list and an audience and platform. And I looked around at like, if you wanted to hire Russell Brunson, if you wanted to hire Dan Kennedy, like you can't just like get them on the phone and be like, hey, drop everything, I need to work. You have to jump through hoops and you have to go to them, and they have this like gravitational field that attracts clients to them. And I love that power dynamic. So ever since like early in my career, I knew that I wanted to have this list and this audience. So that way the power dynamic was always in my favor. And I could always just, get clients on command, and also sell products and other things that I could use to leverage my time. So that's like the journey that I've been on for the past 11 years now. I was just building that up, and had to kind of fumble my way through, figure out a lot of it on my own, but here I am.
So what are the biggest mistakes that you see people make when they're first starting to build a list?
Yeah. So part of it is not understanding like how to acquire new leads. And if you don't have any list growth, like it becomes demoralizing to like continue to show up and write emails all the time. And for a lot of people, like if you're writing good emails and you just don't have the distribution or the acquisition, like you could just take your emails and turn them into ads, turn them into, you could build them out and turn them into PDFs and ebooks. You could make videos of them. You could post them on social, on X or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. And you're doing the work once, but kind of getting paid twice for it, because it's going to help you, even if like you're starting from scratch, it's going to help you grow faster. And the other part is just consistency. Like a lot of people say they want to be a list owner, they want to have this audience and everything else, but they'll do it for like 30 days or 60 days and they'll stop. Like I remember when I started my list, I scrounged together like 55 email subscribers. And, it sucks when you write an email and, okay, you got 30 people to open it, which is cool. And like one person clicks on the link and it's like, oh man, is this ever going to happen? But you have to kind of make a choice, because 100 people will get an idea to do something. 90 of them will drop out after 30 days. After the next, 6 months after that, another 5 or 6 will drop out. And in the end, there will be 2 or 3 people who see it through, and 1 or 2 of those people might stop, and you might be the only one left standing. So it's consistency and frequency. It's like compound interest. It's like if you invest in an index fund and then sell it 30 days later, like you're not going to see any gains, right? The gains come over time, right? Like if you invest in Bitcoin today and then you sell tomorrow, like you're not going to become wealthy. Like it's time in market, right? It's time emailing, it's time investing into creating messaging assets for your business. Because what happens is you get better every single day. You get 1% better every day. Everyone's like, oh, I don't have enough clients, so I don't get enough reps, and I don't, I'm not getting good as fast as I want. It's like write every day. That's what writers do. That's what business owners do. Like the people who are the best do it all the time, right? So, and if you're doing it for yourself, you are now building a business where you have asymmetric upside. One of the big things for me that was always like frustrating was I knew that as a freelancer, don't get me wrong, compensated very well. A lot of big projects, 5-figure projects, all that stuff, big retainers. I used, do $10,000 retainers with my agency, but you always have to sell your services at a lower rate than the value that you actually generate for the client. Like that's the only way a service business works, obviously. Like they're not going to invest if you're making more money than they're making, right? So what's cool is when you have your own list, you can do the same work or sometimes even less work than you would for a client, but you own all the profit and all the upside. And that was the big thing for me, like to have this ability to be like, where one day if I don't want clients or I don't need clients, or if I want to start up a new business in a new space, I know how to do that because I know how to build a list. I know how to monetize it. I know how to sell. So, those are a lot of the mistakes. It's like taking your eye off the ball, right? Like people are just not consistent. And like, if you just stay disciplined, you don't even have to be the best in the world. You just have to be consistent. But most people can't stand the consistency because most people every 30 days are trying something new.
Yeah. So a lot of people watching this are freelancers of different types, maybe designers, maybe a lot of programmers. So what do you say to somebody that doesn't view themselves as a writer? Like, how intimidating is the writing of an email if you're going to do it every single day, which is what you teach in the upcoming training you're going to do? I know we'll get to that in a second. But what do you say to people that don't consider themselves writers? Like, is that a barrier to entry for building a list?
No, not really. It's just like anything. It's like the first time you ever go to the gym, you're not a lifter, you're not a bodybuilder, right? Like, are you gonna let that stop you from gaining muscle and losing fat? Like, no. I mean, there's some people maybe, but I certainly hope not. Like, that's your goal if you want to get good at something. It's like everyone needs, well, I'm not this or I'm not that. Like, I'm not a website designer. I had to build a number of websites for my business. And I was like, well, I want to make money, so I'm going to do this, right? A lot of people just let things stop them. And writing really is not that hard. Like, yeah, the first 10 emails you write might suck, but the next 1,000 emails you write after that will probably be pretty good. They'll probably make a lot of money. And it's like, if you knew, like, do you have the discipline? Like, do you have the balls to get through 10 shitty emails or 20 shitty emails to get to a point where you're making money every time you write something? It's not asking a lot, like, and this is what I mean, that people stop and they quit, right? It's like, if you want to be good at something, like I literally wake up in the morning, I go like this on my keyboard, and then the money appears. Right? That's what happens when you have an email list, right? Like, you write something and then you put a link to a product and then people buy it. Not everyone, obviously. You're not going to have 10,000 sales in one day, right? Unless you have 10 million people on your email list or something crazy. But like, you can literally wake up, spend 20 minutes, write something, and the money appears. And like, most people in their business, they're doing so much shit that doesn't matter. Like, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to write an email. I'm like, okay, get a piece of paper, list down every single thing you're doing. And then you write if it's making you money or not making you money. Like, hey, I did this thing today. Did I make any money from it? No. I did this thing. Did it make any money? No. I did this thing. Did it make any money? No. Right. And you're going to find that probably maybe one or two things that you actually did in an 8-hour day actually made you money. Like, this is something that makes you money. Like, when you have a list and you sell to it, you make money. You make your cash register ring. You bring in free cash flow into the business. So like, when people say, I don't have time, I'm not a writer, what are you doing that's more important? One of my clients, they're an e-commerce brand. They're a regenerative cattle ranch. They wrote an email the other day, 10 minutes. It took the guy to write the email, $2,000 in sales. I'm like, okay, so if you extrapolate that into an effective hourly rate, that's a $12,000 effective hourly rate. What are you doing in your business that has higher than a $12,000 effective hourly rate? Name something. I mean, like, very few things, unless you're concepting a new offer, or, like, there's very few things that are going to give you a higher effective hourly rate than that.
So you're doing a free training coming up here next week on October 15th, 5 steps to $1 million list. Can you talk about what you're going to be teaching in that training?
Yeah. So it's going to be, I'm going to cover a lot of stuff, but I'm going to talk about list growth. I'm going to talk about monetization, talk about systems. Like, one of the big things people always tell me is like, I need a system for email marketing. And like, I'm going to show a very simple system, how you could run a very profitable, lean, and infinitely scalable email marketing program. It's very easy to do. And you're not going to have to like become some expert copywriter. You're not going to study for 10 years, right? Because a lot of this stuff that you could write about is stuff that you're already doing. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how the story of my own list, how I took my list from 55 subscribers up to, just under 10,000 and built a 7-figure business where I made multiple millions of dollars of sales selling my own products and services to really a small list. And then I'm basically going to be showing you how to automate parts of it as well. That's one of the things too. Everyone's like, well, what if I don't want to do this forever? I'm like, well, you don't have to. You've written, hundreds of emails. Now you just automate, and then you chill and do whatever the hell you want. So it's like your 20-minute workday can become a 0-minute workday.
So this is going down on the 15th at what time?
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern. And people can go to orzy.email.com to register for that. The link will be in the description. It really is funny. I don't know any 7-figure entrepreneurs that don't have some form of an email list. There's a couple freelancers who do that are just spectacularly world-class talent that you just can't compete with them. But even they build lists on the side. When they want to retire, it's an asset. So there's nothing more valuable to business than building a list. So I'm happy. I registered for this training. I'm going to be there. I want to learn from you still. So yeah, any last words for people?
I'm super excited to see everyone there. I hope you guys like it. And if you do sign up and you reply back to the initial welcome email, just to confirm that you're in, I'll give you a free issue of my $100 a month print newsletter, Make It Rain Monthly, as a little bit of an extra incentive.
Well, I can endorse that too. I've been a subscriber now for like a year or so, and it's a great. You've just teach a lot of really valuable lessons in there.
Everyone overcomplicates this shit, right? Like, everyone's like, I got to be on this channel. I got to be doing this. I got to be doing this. I'm like, how much money do you make from all those things? I mean, nothing. Just get people onto a list, sell them stuff. In online business, everything funnels back to the list. Even if you have a coffee shop, right? Like your coffee shop is only as valuable as the people who come in every single week, right? And like maybe you're not capturing that info, you should be, but like that's the value of the business. The value of the business is not in the coffee, it's not in the machinery, it's not even in the real estate. It's the people who walk through the front door every single day and give you money, right? Like that's the value of the business. Like everything in business comes, like what do people say? List, offer, copy, right? Copy is easy to learn. Offers can be constructed, and then it's just the list. So I hope I'm not like beating a dead horse by saying this, but I just see people doing so much stupid stuff, and I'm like, stop doing everything and just do this, and their business grows.
Amen. Well, Chris, thanks so much for popping in here. And everyone, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, go to orzy.email.com, and I will see you on the training on the 15th. All right, everybody. Catch you later.
See you guys.